Most people don't realize that term insurance has an expiration date until it's too late. Welcome to Building Wealth with Marco Esquivel. I'm going to speak today a little bit about term insurance. And one thing that I have realized, when talking to people, when we're working over finances and, having discussions about their retirements or discussions about building wealth and even real estate, we have these long discussions about finance, and we start talking about insurance. That comes up, and we have these conversations about, I'll ask them, do you have any insurance? And a lot of times they say, yeah, I have term insurance. Okay, and how long is that? We have that conversation. How long is your term insurance? Well, it's about 20 years. I say, okay, you're 30, that takes you to 50. What do you think happens after those 20 years are up? Well, the other day I was in a conversation and somebody, he goes, when I asked that question, they said I can renew it. That's true. But you're gonna have to renew it based on that age of 50. If you're 30 and you have a 20-year policy and it goes to expire, they're gonna allow you to renew it before it expires. But you got it when you were 30, when it was a lot cheaper. Now you're gonna renew it when you're 50, when it's more expensive. And you also have to look at, has your health changed from the time you were 30 to age 50? Okay, now I'm talking about a 20-year term. But you can look at your dates on that term policy and say, when does it expire? Because one of the things that I hope when you talk to your advisor is that when they bring up the conversation about term insurance, and term insurance is there is a need for it. I'm not saying there's not a need for it. But you also want to have the conversation of what happens when I get to that term expiration date, and they say, well, you can just renew it. I said, you want to make sure that you ask the question, is it more expensive? What comes next? Those types of questions, so that way you can anticipate what you're going to walk into, okay, when that term date expires or gets close to expiration. Because one of the other things that you can do, and you want to talk to your advisor about this, is convert it to a permanent insurance through the process, okay? Because a lot of terms insurance does allow, when you talk to the providers, it does allow for you to convert it to a permanent insurance later on. So those are some questions that you're going to want to ask. But at this moment, I wanted to focus on the term insurance and what happens when it expires. It does become more expensive. It does become, because you're older, right? It's based on your health. It's based on your age. That's what the premiums are set. That's what the level of risk is set at. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you're asking those questions. But there is a need, but you need to understand the product. You understand what you're purchasing. Okay, so I want to leave you with that. If you have any questions, please reach out to me below, set up an appointment. But more importantly, ask questions.